I get a lot of questions about Pinterest. There's a lot of things that new bloggers just don't understand, and I get it. Pinterest can be a confusing platform. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the top 8 Pinterest questions that I get from new bloggers. Let's get started. Hey, my name is Sarah from Businesswomen Thrive, and the first question that I get about Pinterest is how many times a day should I pin with a new account? And the answer is you should start slow. You don't want to start out pinning 20 to 30 times a day. Pinterest has a pretty terrible spam filter, and a lot of genuine bloggers get marked as spam when they shouldn't be, meaning that they're going to see a drastic drop in views. I've seen this happen to a lot of my blogger friends, and it's really devastating for blog views when you get marked as spam on Pinterest if that is your main source of traffic. I wouldn't worry about it too much because there's a good chance that it won't happen, but either way, you don't want to create that possible risk of getting marked as spam by starting out and pinning a ton of content in the beginning. So I would recommend to start pinning 2 to 3 times a day. I personally pin 5 times a day, but my account is about 2 years old at this point, so I have a lot more content to pin than just blog posts. If you can pin 5 times a day, go for it, because I would say from my account personally and the client's Pinterest accounts that I run, 5 is pretty much the standard. But if you are just starting out, 2 to 3 times a day is just fine. And another reason you want to start out slow and pin less is because you don't want to get burned out in the beginning. Pinterest is a hard platform to work with just because it takes time for the algorithm to start ranking your pins and showing them to more people and getting more followers. All of that can take a lot of time. And you might not have a lot of time in the beginning because you're probably working full time and have other things going on. So starting slow is the best, and then if you like, you can increase later on. Question number 2 that I get all the time about Pinterest is when should you start pinning for a new blog? And I personally think you should start immediately. I know a lot of bloggers worry because they think their blog isn't ready or they don't have enough content, and they want to make sure their blog is perfect before readers actually get onto it, but really, you should start immediately. If you have one post up on your blog, you have enough content to pin onto Pinterest. And one of the reasons is because pins circulate on Pinterest for a long time. My most popular pins are things that I have pinned over a year ago. So start pinning as soon as you can. Now, you don't want to be pinning the same link 2 to 3 times a day because that might get you caught up in the spam filter. So like I mentioned in the last point, you want to be pinning 2 to 3 times a day. If you only have 1 or 2 posts on your blog, you don't want to be pinning that link that many times. So that rule does not apply to you. If you do have, I'd say maybe 5 or less posts on your blog, maybe you want to be pinning 1 pin every couple days as opposed to 2 to 3 times a day. And then you can increase as you start getting more of a variety of links. But not only will pinning as early as possible help you get your content out there sooner, it will also help you get into the habit of creating pins. Like I said, there is a lot that goes into Pinterest in terms of keyword research and pin creation. You want to get into the habit of creating pins and get as much practice as possible with creating pins so that you can get better sooner. Before we get to the next point, if you're getting value out of this, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel down below for more videos just like this. The third question that I get a lot for Pinterest is when is the best time to pin to your account? Now this is going to be a hard question for me to answer because every account is different. Every audience is different and time zones are different, so I can't give you a straight answer on what is the best time to pin. But I can help you figure out what is the best time to pin for you. Now, I typically notice as a general rule based off of my blog, the bloggers that I talk to, and the bloggers' accounts that I manage for Pinterest, the best time generally is nighttime. And if you think about the way that people use these social media platforms, they're probably going to be on these social media platforms at night when they're going to bed, after dinner, when they're relaxing after work, things like that. They're not going to be on their account at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when they're at work. So not only do you want to think about what time people are going to be on the social media platforms, you can actually find out specific times that people are on your site using Google Analytics. So if you log into Google Analytics and on the front page, if you scroll all the way down, you'll see a section that says when do your users visit, and then users by time of day. So you can see in this graph what time of day users are most active on your site. You can see the bar at the bottom, which will tell you how many users are on your site based off of the color, or you can hover over them and you can see the exact number based off of the last 30 days, or you can change the preset ranges down here. If you have a good amount of viewers on your site already, this is going to be a good tool to use because you can pin based off of the times that people are already showing up to your blog, because that is a good indication of when they are active on Pinterest. But if you don't have a lot of viewers on your blog and that graph really doesn't show you much, what can you do? And my suggestion at that point would be to pin at random times and see what is best for you. In the beginning, it's really all about testing. Let's say you're pinning 2 to 3 times a day. I would start at 9 o'clock and then go from hour intervals from there and go 9, 8, 7 and pin at those times. And then the next day, start at maybe 11 o'clock in the afternoon and go 11, 12, 1. Just pin at hour intervals at random days. And then once you start getting consistent traffic and you start pinning a little bit more, you can go back into your Google Analytics and see what times are actually working for you and start pinning at those specific times. Question number 4 is, how many times should you pin a blog post? And the answer is, as long as it is relevant. One of the best things that you can do for your blog is create evergreen content. Basically what that means is the content is going to be as relevant now as it was a year ago and a year later. That way that you can continue to pin that content for years to come and it will still be just as relevant. So you could pin blog posts and create pins for them as many times as you want. As long as they're still relevant and they're still popular, you can create pins for them. Question number 5 is, how many times should you repin that pin? So this is a little bit different than the last question. As opposed to pinning that specific link, how many times do you want to repin a specific pin that you designed? And the answer is, honestly, once. I only pin all of the pins that I create one time. And that's because repinning on Pinterest does not work as well as it used to. So the way Pinterest releases its content is, if you have a fresh pin with a new description and a new link, that pin is going to get the most reach. It's going to be sent out to the most people. It's going to be sent out to the most of your followers. It's going to get the most attention from Pinterest, basically. The second best type of pin is a new pin with a new description and an old link. That is still considered a fresh pin because you've designed a new pin design even though it is an old link. Let's say I create this pin right here. If I pin that once, even though it is an old link that I have pinned before, this is going to get priority. If I pin this pin a second time, that pin is going to get less reach than this one. And every time I pin that pin again, it is going to get less and less reach until eventually Pinterest doesn't even want to promote it anymore. So you could technically repin the pin more than one time, but it's honestly worth your time to just spend that time that you would repinning to just create a whole new pin for it. Question number 6 is, should you repin others' content? And personally, I do not pin anybody else's content on my feed anymore. Because as I mentioned, repinning doesn't really help, and especially repinning others' content does not help you at all. Not only does it take up time to repin others' content, and you could be creating fresh pins for your own content, but it messes up your stats as well. So if you have a business account, you're going to have access to analytics for your Pinterest account, and you're going to have a monthly views at the top of your account. If you are repinning others' content, the views and clicks that they are getting to those pins that you've repinned are also going to be shown in your monthly views. So if you are repinning a lot of other bloggers' content and you have high monthly views but low clicks to your blog, it could be because all of the views from other people's popular pins are getting sent to you instead. But not only that, in the back where you see your analytics, when you first get into your analytics, if you don't click any buttons, you are going to be seeing the stats for all of the pins that you've pinned, including other bloggers. The only way to get around this is to go onto the side and click on your website specifically, and you're likely going to see your stats change because they're just going to be showing you stats for your pins specifically. So the short answer is yes, you can still pin other people's pins to your blog, but no, you really shouldn't, because it doesn't really help you at all. It doesn't exactly hurt your account, but it really doesn't help. Your time is better spent elsewhere. So personally, I would go with no on this one. Question number 7 is, are group boards worth it anymore? And the answer, again, for this one is going to be no. Pinterest boards used to be a lot more useful. You could pin to a group board and you would get a lot of traffic to your blog that way, and you'd get a lot of repins and things like that. Bloggers and other people started using group boards in a way that Pinterest didn't intend. Pinterest said that group boards used to be meant for Pinterest collaboration, not pin to this board and I'll repin your content as long as you repin my content. A pin for pin was not what they had in mind when they created group boards. So what they did was they nerfed the reach of group boards, making them less useful than they were before. And on top of the reach being significantly decreased by Pinterest itself, a lot of group boards just simply aren't helpful. The SEO of these group boards generally is not that great. And you want whatever boards you pin your pins to have good SEO. That is how you tell Pinterest what the pin is about. And if the board you pin to doesn't have great SEO, it's not helping Pinterest out at all to sending your pin out to the right audience. You want your boards to have good keyword descriptions and titles, not bloggers helping bloggers, and then the board description is the rules of the group board. That is not helping you out at all. And the final question is, should you be using Tailwind or manual pinning? I don't use Tailwind to pin anymore. I just use the Pinterest scheduler on Pinterest. Now, Tailwind used to be a great way to schedule your pins, but while Tailwind is still an approved partner of Pinterest, your pin's reach will significantly be decreased if it comes from Tailwind. Pinterest used to work with Tailwind, and your pins would get the same reach if you pinned them directly onto Pinterest or if you used them with Tailwind. But this has been nerfed. I'm assuming Pinterest realized they were taking a lot of traffic away from their site by allowing bloggers to use Tailwind. Personally, before this change, I would never go onto Pinterest. I would use Tailwind and schedule out a month of pins without ever needing to go onto Pinterest, and then I would log off and be done for the day. I had no reason to go onto Pinterest if I could just use Tailwind, and I'm sure a lot of other bloggers did this as well. Now, to pin any pins, it is best to go to Pinterest directly, which is giving them obviously more traffic. Tailwind is also not useful because repinning isn't useful like I mentioned before. You're better off going to Pinterest and using the Pinterest scheduler on there. They recently made it better, so I believe you can schedule up to like 100 pins or something like that. So you have plenty of room to pin a bunch of pins, and the best part about the scheduler is it is free, whereas Tailwind is pretty expensive for what you get. If you need any more Pinterest help, I highly recommend checking out one of these two videos. I have a ton of different Pinterest videos to help you if you are a beginner at Pinterest and have no idea where to start. And don't forget to like this video if you liked and subscribe to my channel down below for more Pinterest videos just like this. And I will see you next time. Bye!